So the idea is that you will get these firms to take down this content. How are you going to make them do that?
Absolutely. So we will be using and extending the powers under the Online Safety Act to ensure that the companies and the platforms comply with this directive, because they have a responsibility to act here. They are monetising and profiting off of the misery of the victims here, with these images being shared on their platforms, and therefore they have a responsibility to act. And if they don't act, then they can be fined 10% of their global annual revenue, or we can take action to block their services in the United Kingdom. We're taking this very, very seriously, because this is a massive, massive issue that is affecting so many women and girls and young boys and young men as well in our country, and there needs to be action.
Prime Minister used the word terrorism, which I think strengthens the rhetoric around this as to how seriously you're taking it. But as you will know, these tech firms not based here, isn't it difficult to find them? Some tech firms have been fined by Ofcom and they're just not paying the fine because they have no way of getting the money from them.
Well, the government has been very, very clear that if you're operating in our country, then we will act, because we need to keep our citizens safe, whether that's online or offline, and the platforms have a responsibility to act here. And as I've stated, that if they're not paying the fines, then Ofcom as a regulator can take action to block their services, full stop.
Block, ban, is that something you would do?
If necessary, yes, because the first priority of the government is to keep people safe and to stop this abuse from happening online.
Do Ofcom need a strengthening of their powers to be able to do that, though?
Well, Ofcom have the powers under the Online Safety Act. And what we're saying here is that we're going further by ensuring that if the platforms don't comply, when taking them down within 48 hours, then we will act. But we're also going further because we're ensuring that if you as a victim report these images to one platform, then all you have to do is tell us once. So we'll be using something called hash matching, which is similar to terrorist content or child sexual abuse content, so that it can be taken down off every platform. So you as a victim don't have to report it to every single platform time and again to try and get that taken down.
Because there's fear about the onus being on victims to report.
Absolutely.
This, but that will probably get around that. All right, we've got other topics to get through. Minister, so thank you very much for that. Lindsay and Craig Foreman just sentenced to 10 years in Iran. We've heard that the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, is going to try and do something. What can we actually do? Well,
this is why it's so important to have diplomacy. And first and foremost, I want to reach out to the families of them and ensure that they have got support. I know that the Foreign Secretary will be reaching out to her counterpart in Iran to have these conversations about this case. It is breaking news, but it just goes to echo how important at the moment diplomacy is here, whether that be with the US, whether that be with Ukraine, to ensure that we get this right across the world. It's a very, very difficult situation, but the Foreign Secretary is determined to get it right. Determined,
but what can we actually do? It's a regime that we have connections with, yes, but what leverage do we have to get our citizens back? Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe languished in a prison over there for years and years and years, and it was eventually a deal that was done over some tanks from the 80s that was sorted out. We've got to pay them off. Look,
I'm not going to get into specifics here because it's only just happened, but what is important is that the Foreign Secretary will be reaching out to her counterparts in Iran, that we give support to the family here in the United Kingdom, and we ensure that there is a diplomatic channel for conversations to ensure.
She's reaching out, you can have that conversation. You talked about diplomacy, let's talk about the United States. Trump has now again said that we should not return Diego Garcia, the Chagos Islands, to Mauritius. He says that the UK needs to stay strong in the face of wokeism and not give back Diego Garcia. I mean, what do you think wokeism is? And is giving the land back to Mauritius wokeism?
This is about national security. Our military base on Diego Garcia is a crucial, vital military asset to ensure that Britain and our citizens here are kept safe. That is the priority for the government. We are working closely with the Americans. You know, the first meeting that the Prime Minister had with President Trump, he stated that this was a good deal, this was a good lease. Just 2 weeks ago, again, he reiterated that this was the best deal on the table. And just this week, the US administration stated that this was an important deal and they backed it. So we will continue to have those conversations. But first and foremost, the priority for this government and for the Prime Minister is to ensure the safety of that base for national security.
Continue with the process, because as Amanda was just saying, this hasn't fully passed the House yet. It's not fully signed into law, is it? You could still reverse your decision.
We will be bringing this bill back as soon as parliamentary time allows, because it is a vital and crucial asset for national security.
What do you think wokeism is?
I think, what is wokeism? Well, that's an essay question in itself, isn't it? Look, if this is about being aware of the threats around the world, about ensuring that we have got those diplomatic conversations happening, that we are keeping our public safe, then that can be wokeism.
I think he's talking about the UK, Europe, the United States not being apologetic for sins of the past. That's what he's talking about. And do you agree with that, that we should not be apologetic for the sins of previous leaders of this country.
What we won't be apologetic for is ensuring the safety of not just the United Kingdom, but our allies across the world as well. And that is why that base in Diego Garcia on the Chagos Islands is so vitally important.
Couple more things. All right, let's go on to young people and their wages. You know that the rate of unemployment for young people is at 16%, 16.3 in Wales, which we'll come on to in a minute. The government say that they are going to raise the minimum wage in April. Are we still committed to that time frame to raise the minimum wage for 18 to 20-year-olds in April?
We are, yes. This is government policy. We've determined to do that. This is about ensuring fairness across the system, to ensure that we have those young people who are doing an honest day's work get an honest day's pay. This is about ensuring fairness across the system.
You know, small businesses, hospitality, think that this is putting a dampener on those young people actually getting jobs. They're saying the young people just won't be employed because it's too expensive for businesses to do so.
We've created hundreds of thousands of more jobs since we came into office. You know, the priority of this government was growth and creating employment. I come from an area and I represent an area where there is high levels of unemployment, particularly in young people, following post-industrial, issues where we closed the mines and nothing replaced them. What's important is that we've got new jobs. Just yesterday, I was with the Prime Minister in Pontypridd, looking at our new train lines, meeting apprentices, giving them really good, high-quality jobs for the future. That's what this Labour government is about, ensuring that young people have the skills and opportunities to flourish in the future.
Okay. You mentioned Wales again, so we're going to come to that. Very pleased to say you are the third Welsh MP I've spoken to this week. Is that a sign that the Labour Party is slightly concerned about this upcoming Senedd elections? 27 years in power and third in the polls. You're not doing too well.
I would say it's a sign that Wales has got immense talent and brilliant MPs representing their constituencies.
That is true, but it also feels, because it feels unusual, the third Welsh MP in a week. I mean,
you're complaining? You're complaining about chatting to the Welsh MPs?
I'm delighted to have you here, Alex, but you're third in the polls. You're getting beaten up by Plaid Cymru and Reform. It's a worry, surely. 27 years in power and you're probably going to lose this time.
Look, 27 years in power, delivering for the people of Wales. Finally, after 14 years of not having a government in Westminster that supported the Welsh government, we have that.
Oh, so is it their fault? Is that the reason?
What we've got is now Labour governments working hand in hand, and harking back to the visit yesterday that I did with the Prime Minister, looking at how important and vital that is. You know, these were train stations that were proposed decades ago, but they're finally coming to fruition thanks to a Labour government backing Wales, a Labour government at Westminster backing a Labour government in Wales. That's what's vitally important for delivering for the people of Wales. It's
been, 18 months now of that being the case, and yet the polls still suggest that is not getting through to the voters of Wales. Plaid Cymru are up on 37%, Reform 23%, Labour down on 13%. How are you going to get that message across to those voters in Wales?
Well, I talk to them. I want to be out there talking to them about what matters to them, whether that's the cost of living, the importance of growth, keeping people safe online, like the messages that I'm here to deliver today, talking to them about what matters to them first and foremost. But I'm not interested in the polls. What I'm interested in is delivering here in government for the people of Wales and for the people across the United Kingdom.